The smoke had barely cleared when the dropship crashed through the tree line, shaking the forest floor. Birds fled from the trees, leaves fell like rain, and the air filled with a high-pitched whine. The metal hull hissed as it cooled, steaming. In the early morning light, Corin stumbled out, coughing. His armor was scratched, one boot half melted, and his hands shaking. He was the last man out. The rest of the squad didn't make it. He wiped his face with a trembling glove, then froze. Something was watching him. The trees were too quiet. No wind, no insects. Just silence. The kind that felt like it had teeth. He raised his weapon, but it was cracked down the center, useless. So he stood still, breathing slowly, listening. That's when he heard laughter, not mechanical, not human. It was soft, musical, and mocking. Out of the shadows came a figure. Tall, smooth green skin that shimmered in the light. Long glowing hair like leaves in sunlight. She was built like a dancer, but armored like a predator. Elegant dark plates covered her chest and limbs, but left just enough skin exposed to show off her strength. And she was smiling, no laughing. At him, Corin blinked. She pointed at his chest, then her sharp green eyes traveled downward. Her lips curled, clearly amused. She said something in her language, then laughed again, shaking her head. Corin didn't understand the words, but the message was clear. She thought he was small. He felt his ears burn, not just from the crash, but from the shame. He'd lost his squad, his weapon, and now apparently his pride. "Nice to meet you too," he muttered. She tilted her head. Then, to his surprise, she stepped closer. Corin didn't move. His heart pounded in his chest. The alien woman circled him slowly, her wings folding behind her, her tail swaying like a cat's. She sniffed the air. Then, with a strange kind of softness, she touched his broken weapon and pushed it down. "No threat," she said in perfect English. Her voice was smooth, calm. "You speak my language?" he asked, startled. "Not yours, just all," she said simply. He didn't know what that meant, but it wasn't the strangest thing happening right now. "Where am I?" he asked. She smiled again. "My forest." He looked around. "I didn't mean to crash here." She gave a shrug. "Still crashed." Corin sighed, pressing his palm against his helmet. "Look, I just need a way out. A signal beacon. Anything." She stared at him, then shook her head slowly. "You want escape? You need help. But you are small and weak." Corin clenched his jaw. "I'm not weak." The alien girl smirked again, then turned and started walking into the trees. He hesitated. "Where are you going?" She looked back. "You follow, or stay. Forest decides if you live." And with that, she disappeared into the green light. Corin didn't have much choice. He limped after her. They moved through the forest quietly. She didn't speak again for a long time. Just walked with purpose, stepping around glowing roots and ancient stone shapes he didn't recognize. Suddenly, she stopped. Something was wrong. The air changed. She raised one hand and the forest went still again. Then from behind the trees, the sound came. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a machine. It was something else. Corin felt his blood freeze. The alien girl stepped back toward him without a word, and then did something strange. She hid behind him. He glanced back, stunned. "You're hiding behind me?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were wide now, no longer mocking. Her tail wrapped tight around her own leg. Whatever was coming, even she didn't want to face it first. Corin turned forward, his cracked weapon still useless. But he squared his shoulders anyway. Something large moved between the trees. Heavy, slow. The growl was low and angry. Corin stood in front of her, even though he had no reason to believe he could stop it. The alien girl clutched the back of his armor lightly. "Still think I'm small?" he whispered. Behind him. She didn't laugh this time, not anymore. The growling stopped, but the silence was worse. Corin stood still, barely breathing. The forest in front of him felt like it was holding its breath too. The alien girl behind him didn't move either. Her long fingers rested lightly against his back, almost like she didn't want him to notice. But he did. Whatever was in those trees, it was dangerous. And it was waiting. Then the ground shook. Just once, but it was heavy. Corin slowly raised his head. His weapon was still broken, but he held it anyway, more like a shield than a tool. "What is it?" he asked without turning around. The alien girl spoke softly. "Forest beast. It wakes during crash sounds. You could have warned me earlier." "I didn't think you'd make it this far," she said. "Thanks for the confidence." Another growl echoed closer now, heavy breath. Wet snarls. A blur of shadow between the trees. The alien girl suddenly moved to his side. She crouched, wings lowered, hands ready with claws that shimmered like blades. Her face wasn't playful anymore. It was sharp, focused, but she still stayed close to him. Then it appeared. It was a beast, part flesh, part moss, with tree bark fused into its shoulders and glowing yellow eyes. Its body was too big, its teeth too long, and its mind too wild. The creature stepped out fully into the path and sniffed the air. It saw them. It roared. Corin didn't run. He took one step forward, weapon raised. "Go," he whispered to the girl. "No," she said instantly. He turned his head slightly. "You just hid behind me. I changed my mind." The beast charged. Corin braced himself. He didn't have time to think. His body moved before his brain did. He ducked under the first swing of the beast's paw, rolled across the dirt, and came up behind it. The cracked weapon sparked, barely working, but it stunned the monster for half a second. That was enough. The alien girl leapt over him, wings wide, claws glowing. She landed on the beast's back and raked its neck with a scream that made the trees tremble. The monster roared in pain and bucked her off. She landed badly, her leg twisting. Corin ran straight at the creature. It swung at him, and he ducked. Again. This time, he shoved the butt of his weapon into the beast's eye. It screamed again. The girl jumped up despite her limp. She grabbed Corin by the back and yanked him away just as the beast slammed its huge body into the ground. The two of them hit the forest floor together, breathing hard. The monster stumbled, growled, then turned and vanished back into the trees. Its body wounded and its pride broken, Corin rolled onto his back, gasping. The alien girl sat beside him, panting. After a moment, she laughed. He turned his head toward her. "You're laughing again?" "Yes," she said. "But not because you're small." He blinked. She looked at him with glowing eyes. "You faced it. You didn't run. That's rare." Corin gave a weak smile. "Didn't have much choice. You had a choice. You chose to stand." He sat up slowly. "And you chose to hide behind me." She looked away, embarrassed for the first time. "I forgot how large it was. I don't like them." He tilted his head. "So now I don't seem so small?" She glanced at him and smiled. "No, now you look useful. Gee, thanks." She helped him to his feet, then leaned on his shoulder slightly, her legs still stiff. "You're limping. It will heal." "I heal fast." He looked around the broken forest. "We need to keep moving," she nodded. "There's a cave ahead. Safe place. Just before the ridge." As they walked, she didn't tease him anymore. She asked his name. "Corin," he said. She nodded. "I am Vera." He smiled slightly. "That's a nice name for someone who laughs at strangers." Vera gave him a sideways look. "That was before I knew your size." "Doesn't matter," Corin chuckled. "Glad we cleared that up." As they moved together through the forest, she leaned closer to him, not from injury but from comfort, and neither of them noticed the shape that followed them from the shadows. The forest path narrowed as they walked deeper into the green mist. Strange glowing insects floated around them. The trees were taller here, their roots twisting across the ground like sleeping snakes. Corin held Vera gently, one arm around her. Back to help her walk. Her leg was still weak, but she didn't complain. She leaned into him, quiet but alert. "You're strong," she said softly. "You're the one with claws and wings," he replied. "Yes, but you didn't scream when the beast hit you." "I didn't have time," he said with a small grin. "Vera," chuckled Dot. They finally reached a rocky slope. Half hidden by vines, a wide dark cave opened ahead. Steam drifted out from it, warm and slow. Vera touched the stone with her hand, then nodded. "Safe. The heat keeps away the worst creatures." Corin helped her inside. The cave was deep, with glowing stones on the walls. Pools of soft water bubbled quietly, and the ground was smooth. Enough to rest on. For the first time since the crash, Corin felt like he could breathe. Vera sat down near the center, stretching her injured leg. She rolled her ankle carefully, wincing. "Not broken," she said, "just bruised." "You still saved me," Corin said. She looked up, surprised. "You were already fighting." "I was just trying not to die." "You went for the kill," Vera smiled. "I like that you say thank you." Corin sat across from her, taking off his cracked armor piece by piece. His arms were covered in bruises. "What were you doing in the forest anyway?" he asked, guarding. "The ruins," she said. "Our old tech. It's buried nearby. My job is to keep outsiders from finding it." "Well, I found you instead." She laughed again. "Yes, and you're loud. Sorry for crashing into your home." She waved her hand. "I've had worse guests." Corin leaned back against the stone. His body ached everywhere, but his mind was slowly clearing. "Will your people come looking for you?" "No," she said simply. "Why not? They think I'm strange. I don't follow orders well." Corin raised an eyebrow. "Strange. Alien girl who guards ruins alone and laughs at humans. Sounds normal to me." Vera tilted her head. "You're different too." "How?" "You didn't try to impress me. You didn't show off. You didn't stare at me the whole time." He looked down. "Should I have?" "No," she said quickly, then softer. "But most do." Corin glanced at her. In the warm cave light, her green skin shimmered softly. Her glowing eyes were calm now, not mocking. For the first time, she looked unsure. Before he could say anything, a small sound echoed at the back of the cave. Both of them froze. It wasn't the wind. It was a footstep. Corin stood fast, grabbing the cracked weapon. Vera rose slowly, claws ready again. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. It wasn't a beast. It was something worse. It was another alien, same race as Vera, but taller, older, and covered in full black armor. No wings, just a long jagged blade on his back and a metal mask over his face. Vera hissed. "He followed us." "Friend of yours?" Corin asked. "No," she whispered. "He's a shadow hunter." The shadow hunter took another step. "Vera, you broke the watch laws. You touched the outsider. He was dying. He is human. That is not your concern." Vera stepped in front of Corin. "I make my own choices." The hunter pulled the blade from his back. "Then you die with him." Corin tightened his grip on the broken weapon. "If I had a credit for every time someone said that today." Vera placed her hand on his arm. "This time you don't stand in front. But I know him. Let me face him." Corin hesitated, then nodded. Vera stepped forward, claws glowing, wings spreading wide. The cave air grew cold. The hunter rushed her. She met him head on. The clash of claw and blade filled the cave with sparks. Corin didn't move. He trusted her, but even so he was ready to jump in if she needed him again. Because now, she didn't laugh at his size. She stood in front of him because she wanted to, and he stood behind her, not to hide, but to protect her back. Vera's claws slashed fast, meeting the hunter's blade with a burst of sparks. The cave lit up with flashes of silver and green. Every strike echoed like thunder against the stone walls. Corin stayed near the wall, weapon ready but not interfering. Vera told him to let her fight, and he respected that. But his eyes never left her. She moved like a dancer, quick, sharp, but the shadow hunter was stronger. His blade was longer, heavier. Each strike forced her back a step. "You are weak." Now, the hunter growled. "Too long among trees. Too long alone." Vera didn't answer. She gritted her teeth and pushed forward, her claws slicing across his shoulder armor. Sparks flew again. The hunter roared and kicked her hard. She flew back, hit the cave wall, and dropped to her knees. "Vera!" Corin rushed to her. She held up one hand. No. Blood ran down her side. Her breathing was heavy. But her eyes were still burning. "You fight to protect a human?" The hunter shouted. "A small one?" Vera pushed herself up. Her voice was hoarse but clear. "He stood for me. I stand for him." The hunter charged. Corin moved without thinking. He ran straight at the attacker and slammed his cracked weapon into the side of the hunter's helmet. The weapon shattered completely, but the blow made the hunter stumble. Vera didn't waste the moment. She leapt forward and drove both claws deep into the hunter's side. Then twisted. He screamed. The light in his armor flickered. Then he dropped to his knees. Vera stood over him, breathing hard. "You shame us," the hunter gasped. She leaned close. "I don't care." And with one last strike, she ended it. Silence filled the cave. Vera collapsed backward. Corin caught her before she hit the ground. Her body was shaking, blood seeping from her wounds. "Hey," he whispered, holding her close. "Stay with me." "I'm fine," she breathed. "No, you're not." She gave him a weak smile. "You jumped in." "I said don't." "I don't follow orders well either." She laughed softly, then winced. He laid her down carefully. Her armor was cracked, green blood still oozing from the gash on her ribs. "You need help." "Real help," Corin said. She reached up and touched his face lightly. "There's a spring, deep in the cave, old tech. It heals." "Can you walk?" "Not far." Corin picked her up gently. She was lighter than she looked. Her wings draped over his arms. She didn't protest this time. As he carried her deeper into the cave, the walls glowed brighter. The air felt warmer. He followed her directions until they reached the spring. The pool shimmered like liquid light. Vera pointed at it. "Put me in." He set her down gently, and she slid into the glowing water. Instantly, the light wrapped around her like soft threads. Her wounds stopped bleeding. Her breathing steadied. Corin sat beside the pool, watching her. She looked up at him. "Why did you come back for me?" "You're the only one who didn't try to kill me," he said. "I laughed at you. And I still followed you." Vera closed her eyes and rested her head back in the water. Her skin was glowing more softly now, her strength returning. "You're strange," she whispered. "So are you." After a long pause, she spoke again. "When I first saw you, I thought you were weak, soft. A joke." Corin nodded. "I figured. But now, I see your strength. It's quiet, but real." He didn't answer. He just sat with her in silence, the cave glowing around them like a dream. After a while, she opened her eyes. "When we leave this cave, others will come. More hunters. My people won't let this go." "Then we leave fast," Corin said. She looked at him. "You'd still run with me, even after all this?" "Yes," he said. "Because I trust you now." Vera stared at him for a long time. Then, for the first time, she didn't laugh or smirk. She just said, "Then I trust you too." And in that moment, something unspoken passed between them, something quiet but strong, not a joke, not a fight, but a bond neither of them expected. The healing spring faded behind them as Corin and Vera stepped out of the cave. The air was cooler now. The forest light had shifted brighter, but quiet. Too quiet. Vera walked on her own again. Her wounds were mostly closed, skin glowing. Softly, but her eyes were alert, focused. "They'll track us," she said. "How many?" "Too many. Any chance they just let it go?" Vera shook her head. "Killing a shadow hunter means exile or execution." "I chose exile." Corinne looked around. "Where can we go?" "There's a ridge beyond the river. Old tunnels under the mountain. I used to hide there when I was young." "You sure it's safe?" "No, but safer than staying here." They moved fast. Vera moved like a shadow between the trees, her wings folded tight, her steps silent. Corin followed, careful not to slow her down. Every time he looked at her, something had changed. She didn't mock him anymore. Didn't tease. Now she watched his steps, waited for him to catch up, listened when he spoke. She wasn't just protecting him anymore. She was with him. They reached the river by midday. It wasn't deep, but it was wide, and the current moved fast. Vera crouched at the edge. "The water carries scent. If we cross here, they lose our trail." Corin nodded. "Let's do it." She looked at him, then offered her hand. "Hold on, it's cold." He took it. The water was freezing. Sharp. It stung his legs and filled his boots, but he didn't let go of her hand. She moved quickly, pulling him through the deep part, wings tucked tight, breath short. Halfway across, she slipped. Corin caught her before she fell. He pulled her against him, held her steady until she regained balance. Their eyes met closer now. "You saved me again," she said. "You slipped. That's different. But you didn't let go." "I won't." She didn't look away, not this time. They crossed together, dripping wet, hearts pounding. On the other side, Vera led him up the slope, through thick roots and tall stone ridges. The sky began to darken behind them. Suddenly, she stopped. Corin followed her gaze. In the distance, black shapes moved. Figures in dark armor. Tall, sharp helmets. Silent steps. Hunters. "They're here," Vera whispered. Corin felt his jaw tighten. "We can't fight that many." "No, but we can outrun them. If we reach the tunnel, lead the way." They ran, through vines, across rocks, under glowing branches. The ground shook with every step behind them. The hunters were fast, but not as fast as fear. Vera leapt over a root and pulled Corin up with her. "You're faster than before," she said breathlessly. "I'm learning," he replied. They reached the ridge just as night began to fall. At the base of the mountain, covered in moss, was a narrow crack in the stone. "There," Vera said. They ducked inside just as the hunters arrived behind them. Shadows passed by the cave mouth, silent, sniffing the air. Corin held his breath. Vera touched his shoulder gently. "They'll search the forest first. We have time." The tunnel inside was narrow and long. They moved deeper into the dark until the light disappeared behind them. Finally, they stopped in a small open space where ancient markings covered the walls. It was warm here, dry, quiet. Safe. For now. Corin sank to the ground, catching his breath. Vera sat beside him, wings folded softly. "I didn't expect any of this," he said. Vera smiled. "Neither did I. You left your people for me." "I left them because they were cruel. I stayed with you because you weren't." Corin looked at her carefully. "What now?" "I don't know," she said. "If we keep running, they'll follow. If we fight, we might die. Then what do we do?" She turned to him. "We do what humans do best. We survive. Together." He reached out and gently touched her hand. She didn't pull away. She leaned into him, her voice softer than before. "You were small when I met you. Now you're not," he smiled. "And you were scary, still are." She laughed quietly, but it wasn't mockery. It was warmth. And behind that laughter, something stronger was forming, a bond that no hunter could break. They stayed in the tunnel through the night. No fire, no light, just the sound of each other's breath in the dark. Corin sat with his back to the wall, listening. Vera lay beside him, eyes open, wings folded tightly against her body. Neither of them slept. By morning, the air had changed. It was heavy, still, like the forest outside was waiting. "They know we're here," Vera said quietly. Corin nodded. "I figured." She sat up. "They won't stop. My people, they believe touching a human brings weakness, dishonor. They'll send more." "How many?" "Maybe all of them." Corin looked at her. "And you?" She met his eyes. "I already chose. I'm not leaving you." He didn't speak, but he reached for her hand again. This time, he held it tightly. Suddenly, the tunnel shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A voice echoed from outside, cold, deep and cruel. "Vera of the Guard. Step out. Face your judgment." She stood slowly. It's the high voice, their leader. Corin stood beside her. "What if we don't go out? They'll come in. Then we fight." Vera looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not surprise, not confusion. Pride. "You stand with me," she said, "always." She leaned close and whispered, "Then let them see what small really looks like." They walked out of the tunnel. Together, hand in hand. Dozens of armored figures stood on the ridge, weapons raised, faces hidden by masks. At the center, a massive figure with glowing red armor and a long silver staff. The high voice. He stepped forward. "Vera, you break our laws, you protect a human." She lifted her chin. "Yes, I do. Why?" "Because he protected me first." The high voice raised his staff, then died beside him. Vera stepped in front of Corin, but Corin stepped forward too. He spoke loudly, clearly. "You think I'm weak. You think I'm small, but I stood when she hid. I bled when your hunter attacked, and I'm still standing now." Some of the hunters shifted uneasily. They didn't expect that. The high voice growled. "You are nothing." Corin stared him down. "Then come prove it." The high voice raised his staff, then stopped. Behind Corin, Vera's wings spread wide. Her claws gleamed. But more than that, her eyes glowed with something they hadn't seen before. Choice, power, freedom. The other hunters hesitated. They were trained to follow strength. And now strength stood with a human. One by one, they lowered their weapons. The high voice turned, disgusted. "You shame us all." Vera stepped beside Corin. "Then walk away." He stared at them, then turned and vanished into the trees. Silence followed, then the sound of armor retreating. Step by step, they were gone. Corin exhaled. "Did that just happen?" Vera smiled. "It did." "You really think they won't come back?" "Maybe." "They will," she said. "But next time they'll remember today." He turned to her. "So what now?" She reached up and touched his cheek. "Now, we live together." He laughed softly. "In a cave?" "No," she said. "There's a place beyond the stars. My mother spoke of it. A planet where her kind once fled. It's hidden, untouched. We could go there." He smiled. "Then let's find it." She leaned her forehead to his. "You'll need strength." "I've got you," he said. Vera laughed again, but it wasn't mocking. It was warm, beautiful, and full of hope. Together, they walked away from the war, from the fear, from the past. Not as alien and human, but as two souls who saw each other and never looked away.